everybody. Sean McCracken, news editor for Hotel News Now, here with Ben Rafter, president and CEO of Springboard Hospitality. So, Ben, how's your week going so far?
Week's going great. Good to be back in New York City, and summer's starting, which is always good for the hotels. So can't be better.
So, what's new and interesting for Springboard? You guys have had some noticeable growth lately. Kind of talk us through that and why that is happening.
I think we're primarily in the independent space, and I think it's a big world out there, and there's a lot of people who want to stay at Marriott's and Hilton's and things like that, but there are a lot of people who want hotels and resorts that are heavily influenced and reflective of their communities, right? And that's really what we do. We take a hotel and we want to make it feel like West Hollywood or Jackson Hole or Honolulu or Maui.
Mm-hmm. And obviously you guys are Hawaii based, so let's talk about that just for a second. What does that bring to the DNA of a company like Springboard?
We certainly know the inside of airplanes really well, since it's six hours to get anywhere. But being Hawaii based, we see leisure travel more than we see business travel.
Mm-hmm.
And look, whether you're traveling for business or for leisure, you want to feel that hotel as a sense of place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think being Hawaii based, with an office in LA too, but primarily Hawaii based, means that we think about it from the consumer's experience a little more than a pure business hotel in Philadelphia or something would. Right?
Yeah, for sure. So, just you mentioned obviously based in Hawaii, also operating out of the West Coast. So, what kind of markets, what geographies are you guys looking at? Where are the places that you want to be?
We want to be in primarily West Coast gateway cities. So think the usuals: LA, San Francisco, Seattle, Denver, not necessarily West Coast. And then we've been expanding towards the East Coast in drive leisure markets. Stowe, Vermont's a good example. We have several in Florida, South Carolina. And that's how we're taking the opposite of the adage, go west, young man, and we're going east, but we're not trying to jump into Atlanta or New York City on day one. And what we're great at is we took West Hollywood and San Francisco and then expanded into markets like Park City and Jackson and Tahoe. And now we're taking that experience and expanding into markets like Stowe.
Mm-hmm. So what's life like as a hotel operator in San Francisco right now? There's so much talk about San Francisco, but since you bring it up, I'm curious what that's like.
So we're on the Embarcadero, which helps. It's probably the best part of San Francisco, and I think a lot of these big West Coast cities, Portland being another good example, the pendulum is swinging back.
Yeah,
and a lot of the policies that the government was trying have not worked, and they've realized that. The problem is public perception has not swung back, and so time will solve all problems. And I was in San Francisco and Portland 2 weeks ago, and it was a pretty pleasant experience. Portland in particular, none of the usual cited problems, homelessness and some of the drug problems. But the consumer hasn't gotten there yet, nor has the convention planner, right? And so until those big conventions start coming back and people see that, hey, these cities are starting to restore their vibrance, it's going to be a rough ride. And San Francisco's problem is more open storefronts. Like they have a lot of dead retail that needs to be replaced, and it's not going to be easy. There's no hockey stick for either one. Seattle to a lesser extent, downtown LA, but the good news is the pendulum's now moving in the right direction.
It is interesting thinking about it. It's almost like a chicken and egg situation with San Francisco, because you're right. You need to get the conventions back there, but to do that, you kind of need to get the perception back that it is a place you want to be.
Yeah. Back in the day, I used to work in the tech industry, and there was an adage, just stating my age here, but there's an adage: you never get fired for hiring IBM or Microsoft or whatever. And I think if I'm a meeting planner right now and I'm saying, like, do I take the chance and book a meeting in San Francisco when I can choose Nashville or Las Vegas or something like that? And that perception has to be overcome, and until they start coming back. And San Francisco historically has had a pretty good meeting calendar, so it will come back. Portland has their convention center is good. It's added their Ritz, so they've covered some of the luxury market that wasn't there before. So it's just going to take time.
Yeah. Keying in on the geography you're bringing up a little bit more. I mean, obviously, a lot of what you laid out makes a very straightforward, logical sense when, in Hawaii, want to be in LA, go to San Francisco, go to Denver. Vermont seems like a kind of one of these things is not like the others.
Yeah. Well, we're gluttons for punishment. We're opening in Anchorage, Alaska too. So I think we've got every time zone in the United States covered. But look, Vermont Stowe's a 3-season market, which we like. It's a product of one of our partners called Outbound. It's a great resort, and we looked at it and said, it fits the profile of what we're strong and what we're good at. And so we, like everybody else, we are somewhat decentralized. And so we have some of our regional people both in New York and in Florida and Texas. So we have it covered. But, it was a great profile match. But it is, you look on a map and you look where Hawaii is. Hawaii's already in the middle of nowhere, right? Yeah. And then you pinpoint Vermont and say, well, if I were in New York City, I could be in anywhere in the Middle East or Europe in the time it takes us to get to Vermont. But that's just the price you pay.
Yeah, just coincidentally, this week you're not the first person based in Hawaii that I interviewed, and I never conceptualized that it was literally 6 hours from Hawaii to here in New York. Because I just did, a month and a half ago, I did the New York to Berlin trip, which is the same time change, and man, that's not nothing. Like, it beats you up.
Yeah, well, it's a 10-hour flight for me to get back to Hawaii. And what I tend to do, and I think what all of us that are based in Hawaii tend to do, is we'll stay in Hawaii for 9, 10, 11 days and then come to the mainland for 9, 10, 11 days. Yeah. And that's just the real only way to break it up and approach it. But I encourage you to look on a map if you like the Pacific Ocean, because it literally is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Also the best weather on Earth. So that's the benefit of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, for as remote as it is, it has to be an amazing place for everyone to want to be there. Like, people historically have wanted to be there, right?
Yeah. And what's great about Hawaii is it's domestic, and along with New York, I think New York has passed the state of Hawaii again, but it's the highest ADR market in the country, right? Yeah. So, in terms of in terms of the hotel industry or the hospitality industry, you're sort of one of the state and main U.S. locations there, along with L.A. and Manhattan and several others.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned off the bat that you guys are you see a lot of leisure business, obviously, in Hawaii. Is that the mix across? Are you more of a leisure-driven business, or what's kind of the general mix you guys are seeing these days?
It depends on the market. Los Angeles, San Francisco, West Hollywood. Actually, we're seeing a lot more growth in both corporate negotiated and small business travel, medium-sized business travel. Yeah. And the way we like to look at it is the customers we're targeting. If I work for Netflix and I want to stay in West Hollywood, I'm going to headquarters or whatnot, I'm staying in West Hollywood. Again, I want to experience something that reflects West Hollywood.
Yeah.
And whether you're leisure or business traveler, that's part of the mix. Obviously, Hawaii is going to be 80% leisure. There's a little bit of corporate there. San Francisco is going to be 80% corporate, and that's where we're seeing more growth. On the leisure side, what's interesting is I'll call it the sort of the upper upscale or luxury markets, we've seen rate stabilize and hold well above 2019 pre-COVID. Jackson Hole is a good example. Jackson Hole is going to have a great summer. It's going to be at least twice the RevPAR of what it would have been in say 2019. Other markets that may have been sort of mid-scale have come back down. Yeah. And the fight, obviously now, and it has been the case for 2 years, is especially with the strong dollar, you can go to Europe. You can go to Japan. I was on a Japan flight the other day, and having been to Japan several times for first proximity to Hawaii and the West Coast, usually there'll be 10% of U.S. residents going to Japan and 90% of the Japanese coming for vacation to the U.S.
Yeah.
And it was the opposite this time. And
Yeah.
that's because when the yen's at 157 to the dollar, it's not feasible for the Japanese to have an affordable vacation in the United States right now, which is
Yeah.
a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah. On this podcast, I'd have a monthly check-in with Jesper Palmqvist, who's the STR guy in Asia Pacific. He told me the same thing, that the flows to Japan are just so stark right now, and obviously that has a huge impact on Hawaii. That has a huge impact on the West Coast. But I mean, it seems like all we can do is just sit and wait for currency fluctuations to kind of even out, right?
Yeah, I think so. For those of you who are foodies, I guess you can go to a Michelin 3-star in New York of Japanese cuisine for $1,000 a head. You can go there for $100 a head in Tokyo right now. So
Yeah.
so jump on a flight. But I don't see in Hawaii in particular, the Japanese market's about 50% of where it was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And at this point, that's probably stabilized to where it'll be until that yen comes back down to towards 100.
But at this point, do you see that more as a negative? Because obviously you'd love to see the Japanese traveler come back. Or is that an opportunity? Because as you're saying, rates in Hawaii are great. It seems like demand might not be exactly where you want it to be, but it's not as bad as you would assumed it would have been if a few years ago I told you lost half of the Japanese traveler, right?
Yeah, the domestic traveler and the Canadian travelers to some extent have pulled the market up, and this can happen anywhere, right?
Yeah,
Portland,
yeah.
San Francisco, we talked about. They need to sort of reinvent themselves, and Hawaii needs to make sure they're catering to other smaller inbound markets. The Australians tend to love Hawaii with reverse seasonality.
Yeah.
Korean market's pretty strong, particularly for weddings, and it's always good to get a reminder that maybe you need to market every once in a while. And then
Yes,
Hawaii has that
yes.
reminder right now. We need to
Yeah.
market to the West Coast and tell them why Hawaii is particularly attractive. And that's true of any market, right?
Yeah. So just in general, a hotel management company, we're in a market where there's not as many transactions as there might have been historically, which is obviously the impetus a lot of the time for a change of management. Like, where are the growth opportunities as a hotel manager?
Yeah, without deals, or with fewer deals
Yeah.
happening, it becomes harder. Being focused on sort of soft flags and independence, we're one of very few who specialize in that right now.
Mhm.
And so what we're targeting is, obviously we're still looking at deals, and we tend to look towards extreme value add in markets like this. A lot of people are looking there now. And then we're talking to our ownership groups about, if you want the customized experience, if you want something independent, we're one of the choices that's still there. And we're seeing some of them start to segregate their portfolios that way, which is
Yeah.
beneficial to us.
I mean, it seems like there is so much increasing investor institutional interest in that space. So it only makes sense that there is a even if the pie is not as big as it used to be, your piece of the pie might be growing.
Yeah, exactly. And take the soft flag space as an example. We're obviously biased, but there's two ways you're approaching it. As you've historically been a Marriott operator or something like that, and now you're saying I can do a soft flag, which is more geared towards an independent traveler. We're saying, look, we know how to go out and get the revenue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the benefit of having a flag underneath that revenue is just like, it's icing on the cake, whatever the term
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
So we like the direction we're coming there. And then as we talked about a little bit earlier, like, there's an audience for Courtyard by Marriott, a great hotel, right? And there's an audience for a Hilton, and the world's a big place. The number of people who want highly customized independent experiences is growing, and that's the niche that we're filling.
Yeah. So, speaking of what life is like as a hotel manager right now, obviously over the last few years, there was this big wave of consolidation in the space, but still very, very fragmented. Are you seeing the same sort of signs of activity of, hotel manager M&A? Is that something that you guys are getting calls about, or you're out there asking people about?
Yeah, we get calls. I think everybody gets calls.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, we're getting calls from some traditional investors, maybe someone who would have been investing in real estate before that hasn't been able
Really?
to to find the investments they want,
Yeah.
which is unusual. Um, people have to spend their money, and
Exactly. Yeah.
the what's interesting, I think, two things. One is there was a wave of consolidation a couple of years ago, and now people are learning like integrating these highly independent companies is fairly difficult,
Yes.
right? So people are learning from that and taking a more cautious approach. And then secondly, there are just fewer of us out there, right? So it will still continue to happen. That's just the cycle of life. There's somebody behind us that's prepping themselves to do the same thing we do.
Yeah.
But I think the flurry of activity is diminished for now, just because there are fewer left.
Yeah. It is interesting, the point of somebody who would have been a real estate investor making that call now, though, because you see that on Wall Street, right? The multiples that a REIT trades at is substantially lower than the multiple of, the brands, or, it makes sense. It's kind of the same logic, right?
Yeah, exactly. If an asset is inexpensive, and you think it's going to grow, you go out and buy it, right? I'm from, as I mentioned, I'm originally from tech, so I liked 90% margins and like selling a company 20 times your revenue, not your EBITDA. But we'll take what we can get, and there's always going to be M&A.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, there's just fewer of us out there.
So what would drive somebody to go from tech to hospitality? Is it just the love of the people, or what?
Yeah, this is a great industry.
Yeah.
And I think we forget that sometimes.
Yeah.
And when I had sold a tech company, I got a phone call from a larger than life traditional hotelier, and we agreed to sort of go out on this journey together. He reminded me that never forget that there's an actual guest in the room. So you can talk tech, and we've built a whole tech platform, or we've integrated a whole tech platform that we like and recommend. But his advice, which sticks with me, was there's always a guest in the room. And one of the great things about the industry is just concepting new ideas and seeing the consumers, whether it's a business traveler or leisure traveler, adopt that idea or adopt that F&B concept is amazing. Bluntly, it's a heck of a lot more interesting than coding.
Yeah, well, I would hope so.
Yep.
I will ask you, since you come from the tech space originally, there's a lot of discussion in the hotel industry now about the value of, building it, like whether the hotel brand should be sinking all of their money into building, tech solutions versus buying it. And focusing on what specialists do. I imagine as a smaller operator, it's not like you guys have the wherewithal to build all of your internal tech solutions, but I wonder where you stand on that, whether it makes more sense to go out to the market, buy pre-made solutions, or whether, the Marriotts and Hiltons of the world should be sinking a ton of money into development.
Well, probably different for a Marriott or a Hilton, at least in terms of their core property management systems and things like that.
Yeah.
We're on the buy side. And I think where we want our expertise is being great at integrating all of the pieces together.
Yeah.
But it's funny, we get asked to beta a lot because the DNA of the company, if you will, is sort of in the tech space, right?
Yeah.
And we'll reject 9 out of 10 solutions because the reality is, what problem is it really solving?
Yeah.
And then one of the things,
the problem solving is somebody wants to sell you something.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. They're solving their pocketbook problem. But very few of the solutions out there are actually solving a real significant problem. The ones we like right now are sort of some of the labor management solutions, because particularly on the West Coast, there are a lot of labor mandates that are being given to us by local and state government, and we find those to be very effective. But in all cases, the integration of it all is probably the harder part than saying, is this a good solution? Yeah. And then the big one that always drives me insane is, does the consumer actually want that?
Yeah.
Take a business traveler checking into a hotel in St. Louis, you may want automated check-in.
Yeah.
If you're a leisure traveler checking into a hotel in Jackson Hole, part of the experience should be the front office agent talking to you about Jackson Hole. And we're losing sight of that, partly because we're trying to compete with some of these non-traditional hotel platforms. when the reality is we should be embracing that and saying, why is someone staying at least in a leisure situation? Why is someone staying in a hotel? They should, the people in the hotel should be part of that experience.
Yeah,
in my
for
mind.
sure.
Yeah.
The thing that frustrates me about that is I can never just go up to my room with like the mobile key when I want to. It's only like when I don't need it. It's always the opposite of the rights.
Or even worse, it's 11 o'clock at night and you go to use the mobile key and it doesn't work.
Yeah, it just stopped working.
That's the one that really kills me.
I think my first time I used mobile key, which was a few years ago now, that happened to me halfway through the stay. It just stopped working, and it's like, well, this is something I have to deal with all of a sudden.
Yeah, and you never want to. There's never a good time to go back down to the front desk. But, and the other thing that's driving me insane about the software or the tech companies out there now is they're so focused on buying the next thing.
Yeah.
And introducing it to us and say, oh, you have this part of the platform. Now you need this part over here. And it's like, no, finish this part of the platform and do it well first. Then we'll talk about this next one. And we've gone into a real problem with that because I think every single one of the vendors we work with has pitched us on some new solution, and they're trying to grow. So I get it, but perfect what your core is first.
Yeah. Well, Ben, I think we're out of time, but I really appreciate this. This has been a great conversation.
Great. Thank you very much. It was fun, and look forward to doing it again.
Hi, I'm Davon Reed.
I'm Omari Head.
And I'm Chris Henry.
We're the hosts of the Next Gen and Lodging podcast on the Hotel News Now podcast network. It's a monthly show in which we interview a new generation of hoteliers to get their insights into a variety of disciplines and topics, from finance to food and beverage and hotel operations. Listen to us on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode of the Hotel News Now podcast was recorded on June 4th, 2024, and edited by me, Sean McCracken. Visit hotelnewsnow.com for the latest industry news every day.